Ciao a tutti.
Hi, everyone.
This is Trudy from Dubai.
I'm Bibiana. I'm from Paris.
This is Valerio and welcome to Venice.
Sebastian Beringer from Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
That was a very warm welcome and a bit unexpected.
Are you ready for some more awards?
Well, I was going to say I'm not a morning person, but 9 a.m. sounds reasonable, I guess.
Our menu includes very rich in-flight entertainment, so buckle up, get your happy face on, and enjoy your trip.
Maybe before we start, what did you think of today's events?
Let's hand it over to the first host, who's living in Colombia. So let's hand it over to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, can you introduce yourself a bit? And tell us what we're going to be doing today.
My name is Elizabeth. I'm going to be your host today. And this is my co-host, Lupita. We are in the mountains, and this is the perfect altitude and the perfect weather for us to grow coffee.
And we're lucky right now to see the donkey again passing by.
The temperature is about 80 degrees Celsius. Matcha must be strong.
They just reopened the fountain so we can go down. We can throw virtually a coin inside the fountain.
Right now, I have to show you my favorite mural in the city, which is actually this one right here behind me.
And my favorite stand here on the Albert Kuip Market, also because it is so super nice with coffee, which I'm pretty addicted to as a Dutch guy, is the stroopwafels.
It's more beautiful in real life than it is on my background, I would say.
Okay, so now is the moment of the truth, the black. The black is gonna make this looks like if you all doing the things good and right.
Do you know actually why Athens? It's called Athens from where it takes its name from.
I think I also want to take this time to invite our last guest that wants to join to maybe show us how their painting is going. Well, I think we have someone here right now, and I see that she has a glass prepared ready. Hi, Hona.
Hi.
In a very few minutes, I would say 30 seconds, we will enter some masks. Let's wait for the poll, the results, and I will tell about...
For now, the one that is getting more answers is because Saint Mark was born in Venice. So let me just review the answers because I think they're very interesting.
Cream caramel, mint and chocolate, cream, mandorla, almonds. So all the class pistachio, obviously. Which one do you will like to taste with me?
I wait for you. Ciao, belli. Hope to see you soon, my friends. Goodbye.
Hi, LinkedIn family, and welcome back to another LinkedIn Happy Hour. So more than a year has passed and we're still working remotely. But let me tell you something, this is not going to change even once life is back to normal. Remote work is here to stay. The new work setup has been challenging for all of us, but we managed to make the best out of it by staying connected, even if virtually, with our loved ones, family, friends, and colleagues. That's how With Locals for Teams was born. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, With Locals for Teams offers virtual team activities tailored to keep employees connected, engaged, and productive. So whether you aim to maintain your team's bond and connection, offer them ways to chill out and have fun, charge their energy and care for their wellness, or simply keep on inspiring and motivating them, our experiences meet all of your expectations. For today's LinkedIn Happy Hour, we have a very special guest. Chris Dyer is the founder and CEO of People G2, where he manages 30 full-time remote employees and 3,000 independent contractors. People G2 is constantly ranked as one of the best places to work and has been listed as one of Inc.'s 5,000 fastest growing companies. Having made the transition to remote working during the recession in 2009 with stunning success, Chris Dyer is now a world-renowned expert in remote leadership and productive company culture. Chris is also an international keynote speaker and best-selling author. Together with Kim Shepard, they have recently launched their book, Remote Work, which is a guide every employee and leader needs to flourish in the next wave of radical change in work. Regardless if your organization is fully remote, hybrid, or if you're planning to have a few remote employees, this book provides you with a roadmap for turning your company into something new and ensure a culture that you and your people can be proud of. Also, because it's Friday, we can't let you go without a small celebration. So make sure to stick around until the end for a fun after party with our host Valerio, who will share with us the secrets to a real Venetian spritz. Before welcoming Chris to the stage, I'm curious to hear from our audience about their future work setup. So a poll is going to show up on the screen. So let us know. After the pandemic, my company will, and your options are go back to the office, go hybrid with a mix of office and remote work, go fully remote. This is going to help us understand a little bit where you are and what are your plans for the future. But for now, it's time to welcome Chris. Hi, Chris. Welcome to With Locals Happy Hour. Let me start by congratulating you on the launch of your new book, Remote Work. We have a lot of questions today related to the book content to shed light on remote work best practices and how to do it the right way. So welcome again. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. And With Locals has been fantastic in supporting me and supporting this book. And the whole remote work community. I really love what you guys are doing. It's so important that our people have an opportunity to do some fun stuff, right? That work isn't always work. It isn't always the hard stuff, that we can have fun too. And I think you guys do a great job with that. So, the quick version is I'm a CEO. I run a company. And back in 2009, we were going to go out of business. I mean, when the recession hit, things were terrible. And I said, how am I going to save us? Well, I did a couple things, but one of the things I did was to take us completely remote so we could eliminate all those expenses. So I went remote because it was practical, not because it was some other thing. But I found out very quickly that it was the best way to work.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And my people loved it. And we got hooked. It was like not eating cake your whole life. And someone said, hey, you should try this. And you're like, oh my gosh, where has this been? Right? We were so excited to have this new way of working, and that we've never looked back since.
Well, that's really, I mean, this is when I was reading about it, it's also like a bit of a visionary attitude, right? I mean, you started because, you said you had to do this, but then you were also kind of like one of the first, and then this happened. So you were like, hi, I'm already ready. I'm doing this. So what do you think when like the whole pandemic and working remotely happened?
Well, the silver lining of the pandemic was that people had to work remote. And so we got to break through so many barriers. So much of the BS that people want to say, oh, how do you know they're working? And you can't collaborate unless you're all sitting in the same room. All these things that people, I get it. If you only know one way of working, how can you possibly consider some other way, right? So it's hard for people. We can think of visionaries inside of technology, visionaries inside of sports, people that taught us new ways to do things. I mean, I don't know if you know this, anyone who's a basketball fan, but people used to throw the ball underhand to do a free throw, right? It wasn't until someone else decided to do it like this that everyone started, oh, that's the better way to do it.
Yeah.
And the game changed, right? And so I'm really hoping that now that people have experienced it, now that they've done it and they realize the benefits, that this will be like my experience when we went remote, that they'll go, oh, now I can do this. Now, not everyone can do it all the time. So we're going to have all remote companies. We're going to have hybrid companies. We're going to have flexible work where they're going to, be able to come in and come out of the office, all based on what they do. And that's okay. I'm not saying everyone has to be remote and that's it. We make the joke in the book, if you're going to make wine, you got to be in the vineyard, right? If you're going to make an airplane, you got to be in the hangar. I mean, there are jobs you got to physically be there to do something with somebody else, right? But the customer service agent and the sales rep and the CEO of the vineyard doesn't have to be in the vineyard every day, right? I mean, they can work from home or they can be flexible. So I'm really hoping that companies can take advantage of this and that employees will have a better life, right? You get to see your family more, not be stuck in traffic, be able to to be able to take your kid to the doctor or go volunteer in their class for an hour, right? Where traditional work, you have to take the whole day off to do that kind of stuff. So I think it makes a better world, a better place, a better life when we have flexible work.
Definitely. And I think I just have this question now that we're moving more towards your book. Is this also when all of this happened, that's where the idea of writing this book came along, to share this insights that you had like 10 years before this with Kim? Or how come, like, maybe you were already thinking about it? How did it go with the book?
Yeah. So actually the publisher had kept coming back to me from my first book, which is called The Power of Company Culture. So it's everything you need to know about how to have a great culture, but not really much about remote work in that first book. And they came to me and said, we really want you to write a book. And I said, listen, I hated writing my book. It was the worst thing I've ever done. I hated writing. Being a writer is not like my thing. No teacher I ever had would have said, oh, one day Chris is going to be a writer. No. A talker, a leader, a speaker, whatever, a salesperson, they would have said absolutely. But a writer, right? Yeah. So I didn't want to do it. And they kept asking me. And then remote work started gaining some speed, and they heard me do a talk on it. And they said, listen, how about you write? I think this was their way in. They got me by, asking me to write about remote work. So why don't you write about remote work? And this is before the pandemic. This is before this is before anybody knew anything about COVID, right? And I said, maybe. And I went back and I thought about it, and I thought, what was it that was so hard about writing a book? And I went, it was because I had to do it all by myself. At work, I have my team. I work with people. I collaborate. I brainstorm. We talk. We argue. We help each other out, right? And that's what I love about the work that we do. I love my team. My team is fantastic. But I hated being alone and having to do everything myself. And that was hard. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go ask Kim. Kim is my awesome friend. She's been my mentor. She did remote work. She generally says yes to anything that's a good idea. And I called her up and said, let's go to lunch. And I literally said one sentence. I didn't even finish my sentence. I said, hey, I was thinking about you and I could write a book. She goes, yep, let's do it.
Nice.
All right, we're in. Lunch is over. We're done. We can start planning, right?
Yeah.
And then we started the book, and then COVID happened a few months later. So I think we started planning in December of, in what is that, 2019?
Yeah.
And then when COVID hit, we went, oh, we're going to have to change the book. So we actually went back and replanned it and retooled it, because we knew the whole story. Because initially it was, you should really do remote work. And now with COVID, everyone's doing it like, okay, if you want to do it, here's how you do it right. Exactly. Here's how you make it last. And that was the shift we had to make.
Well, very interesting. I think, throughout, it's not a nice experience, but I guess for this, it was really good timing.
Yeah.
But then let's move on a bit more into the topic of the book. So for us also with Locals, we went fully remote. We are also going to the hybrid workplace as well, but then still some companies are adapting to hybrid or fully remote work settings because of the misperception that a company's culture can be built remotely. So what's the difference between building a company's culture at the office versus remotely, and what is like the challenges faced in remote work cultures compared to the traditional work setting? It's a bit of like two questions.
So building a great company culture is hard. This is not, most companies do not have a great culture. And that was what I put in my first book, was to help people identify what that is and what they need to work on, right? If you can be good, you're still in the top tier if you at least have a good company culture. So that's hard. Yeah. And any company who wants to work on that is doing a great job. If they want to really think, whether they're remote, whether they're in an office, whether they're spread across the globe, whatever. But you only have to think about things like, what are your norms? What people like us in this company do things like this, right? So you could probably think of examples. People in your company do certain things that you've learned that you're supposed to do or you're not supposed to do, right? And you guys all agree to that. It's like this unwritten code. Maybe you guys always say something funny at the start of a meeting. Maybe you guys always work extra hard or extra late, or maybe, whatever it is, right? So there are these ways in which we work and meet, and that's culture.
Yeah.
The difference between the two is that when you're in a single office, right, there are very clear signposts or signals about when you're supposed to do things. And here's a really easy example. Let's say that Tom came into your office and I watched him. I saw him, right? I'm sitting in my cubicle. I watched him walk over to your office and he went and had a meeting with you. Well, I know, because I talked to Tom earlier today, that he wants me to talk to you after he's talked to you about this project, right? It's a natural sign. I saw him go in there. He left. I know now it's my turn to go talk to you so we can keep the project going. I can see it. I know it. I can, right? Or even if I didn't see it, I might see Tom at the break room and say, "Oh, have you talked to her yet? Oh, you did? Cool. I'll go follow up with her." Those little things happen all day long inside of companies, right? Another clear example would be if I walked into the office and there's my boss standing in a conference room holding a pen, standing in front of a whiteboard, and he's waving me in or she's waving me in saying, "Come to the," I know we're going to have a meeting. I know we're going to brainstorm. I know clear things are going to happen.
Yeah.
In a remote company, you lose that.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good thing. And because you actually can have a better thing, but you can't keep operating the same way you would in a traditional company. There is no watching Tom going into your office, right? I don't know if the two of you had a Zoom call or a Teams call. I don't know if you had any of that interaction or not. So what we need to do is de-emphasize one-on-one meetings and try to eliminate as many one-on-one meetings as we can, and try to have as many meetings with 5 to 7 people as we can. So if you're going to have a meeting with someone, think about, should anyone else be here for this? Would anyone else benefit from this call? Would anyone else learn anything, bring anything, need to know anything? Bring them into that call. If the answer is no, like absolutely no one else should be on this call because there's a special reason. This is someone's upset, someone's an HR issue, someone has a complaint. Yeah, then you have your one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
But if you and I were going to talk about, let's just say every time we talked about this event today, we had several people on the call because there was several people who needed to be involved. Can you imagine how bad this might have turned out if it was just me and you?
Yeah.
Right? Or it was just me, or maybe just me and who to talk, but you and I never talked. And then we would have had a harder time making this a success, right? So you have to really change the way you work in remote work. And we get that into the book, that you got to think more about the team. You got to think more about the collaborations and really curating the experience to whatever it is you're doing. Is that do you need to have a lot of 15-minute meetings during the day? Do you need to have just one 1-hour meeting? Does that work for your team? Do you need to not have meetings that are consistent and only meet when you have a specific need, because you can get your work done, you can talk in Slack, right? Do you need to back up and give people as much time to get their work done, right? So how do you curate that makes sense? My sales team, they have a constant meeting every week. They love to get together and talk and collaborate and discuss and do stuff. So that makes sense to sales. My research team, that's a nightmare for them. They're like, leave me alone. I will only need to meet if I have a problem. Let me go get my work done, and just don't bug me, right? I don't want to be on a meeting for an hour and be talking to everybody, and asking how you're doing. I have work to do, and I have things to do. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'll come and have a meeting. And so it's different for every group, every part of the organization, and it works, right? As opposed to, I don't know if you've heard of these horror stories from people where they're saying all they're doing is sitting on the phone on these Zoom calls or whatever with their boss for 2 hours, right? They can't even find a time in their day to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Because they're on calls constantly, back to back to back to back to back. And then they end up working at night just to get their work done. That's not what we want.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's also more about changing, from what you say, like the mentality of the linear office work and now moving more towards okay, what does every team employee needs, and a bit of a trust in that sense as well, right? And I just want to ask you a question from the audience. Actually, it's from Tara, and it's all the way from Austin. So hi, Austin. Tara is asking, so how can HR leaders champion for flexibility post-pandemic, as many CEOs are still talking about needing everybody back in the office? And I also want to share with you, Chris, that from the poll that we asked about what does the companies want, and people are replying, everybody's going more for a hybrid mix workplace. So how can HR leaders champion for flexibility post-pandemic?
So 2 things. One, remember, if you're going to go hybrid is still remote.
Yeah.
Treat your hybrid environment just like you did your remote, because if there's 3 people in the office and they're on whatever video conferencing system and there's 2 people at home, you're all going to be sitting in front of your individual computers, still having a meeting on that system, right? Maybe the 3 of you could go in a conference room and then bring in the other 2, but it's going to operate the same way. So if you keep the same rules and collaboration as you did it fully remote, hybrid can work. If you don't, it's the hardest model to make work if you're not being intentional. Now, to the question, how can you help convince leaders or the CEO or whoever it is? There's a great new article, and if you can't find it, anyone is welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn or whatever social platform, and then DM me. There's a wonderful article by McKinsey. They did all kinds of research on what is happening right now with remote work and what do employees want. And they definitely want flexible work. And what the really key indicator of that study is that the top talent is totally ready to leave if there's not flexible work. So they are ready to change jobs as soon as they're told they have to go back to the office full time, back to normal, quote unquote, that they are leaving, that they will go to another company that's offering flexible or remote work. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And if that doesn't scare them enough that they're going to lose their top talent, there's also all kinds of studies out there about how productivity has gone way up, right? You eliminate the traffic, you eliminate commute time, you're giving people more space to get more work done, to be more productive, right? Your people can be productive. They don't have to take a half day or a whole day off to go do something. They can just run out and go do it, come back and add that extra hour on the end of their day, right? So employers gain productivity, they gain performance, which means they're going to end up getting more profit.
Yeah.
And now, if that's not enough, the last thing is to actually go back, and hopefully your company's been measuring this stuff, and go back, look at something you measured pre-pandemic, and look at things that you did measure during the pandemic and see if they got better, right? Did the good things get better and the bad things get less? That's another way to go and have a conversation, to give that real data to them. And if that doesn't work, well, you might be one of those people that needs to go find a new job. And I fully support anyone who says, I want to work remote. I love remote. And if my company won't give it to me, I'm going somewhere else. Because you know what? There's a lot of great companies out there that are willing to get great people and let them keep working this way.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And again, I mean, for me, all of this is about a mindset. I mean, just because you were used to doing things one way doesn't mean that it was completely right. Yeah. So it's more about, okay, like you said, I think it's very key, like the whole thing about take a look at your numbers before, take a look at your numbers now, also the happiness of your employees, and then do a comparison. I think that's really great advice, Chris. So moving on to the other question, I think it goes related to this, because many companies are identifying processes adaptation as the main challenge of swiping to a hybrid or remote work setting, as we talked before. So how meetings are held, how to synchronize communication type and time, how to bring back the meaningful social connections. I mean, all those little things. And here, first, we want to ask our audience, so what is your company's top challenge of switching from office to hybrid or fully remote work settings? So either the communication type and time, meaningful social connections, cultivate company culture, motivation, and productivity. But what's your advice, Chris, to overcome this challenge? How to adapt office communication process to a remote setup?
Well, the answer really does depend on your setup, right? So it's a little bit different if you have people all around the world in all different time zones. If you have to really work more asynchronously, you really have to think about when do we have calls or video calls, how that makes sense for people, so no one's getting on at 3 a.m., right? And no one's having to you'll be on a call at some weird time. How do you figure that out if you do need some collaborative time on video? Otherwise, you got to do a lot of it async, where you're going to do the work, you're going to leave notes in Slack or whatever, and let the next person come in and take over. But if your team is relatively within so many time zones of each other, and you can have more collaborative times, I really suggest that you design meetings in lots of different ways. So we have lots of different meeting types, and I probably could talk for another hour without taking a breath about all these different meetings we have. But let me just tell you about one meeting we have. And it's called the cockroach meeting.
Okay.
All right. So a cockroach meeting. Now, if you had a cockroach in your bathroom, it's a small problem. You may not want to be the one who cleans it up, and that's okay. But it's a small problem.
Yeah.
Right? It's as opposed to, we have another meeting called a tiger team meeting. If you had a tiger in your bathroom, how much of a bigger problem is that? Right?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It sets the expectation of, how big of an issue is this? Now, so here's what we do with cockroach meetings. Anybody in the organization can call a cockroach meeting. There is no hierarchy. So someone who started today in my company, brand new employee, let's say they started at the, entry level, they could call a cockroach meeting and invite me, the CEO, the founder of the company, to that meeting. So they don't have to go through their boss to go to some other boss to come to me. They invite 5 to 7 people who they think could actually help them with their one single small issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But it's optional for everyone to attend. So if I get invited, you get invited to this meeting. If you can't make it, if it's not a good time for you, if you don't think you're the right person to help them, you just decline it. You don't have to go. There's no pressure. It's totally optional for you. So that person calling the meeting sees, 3 people couldn't come, but these 2 can. I can talk to a few people, right? It has to start on time. Can never start late. If you're beyond a minute, you get a minute's grace. Beyond that, you're singing a song if you're late, right?
Yeah.
You have to sing. You have to, right? We do something fun. We make them sing. Or if they're a very good singer, we might make them read terrible poetry.
Dance.
But we really don't ever have to enforce that. People are always on time. That's a part of our culture. Is we get on, we set a meeting, we get there right away. We don't linger, we don't show up late. 15 minutes or less is that meeting. Our average cockroach meeting is 7 to 8 minutes long.
Okay.
So there's no chit-chatting, there's no how's your day, you would show up and say, you might call the meeting and you'd say, hey, everyone, I'm having this problem. I can't get into this program. I'm locked out and the IT person's gone and I don't know how to get in there. Who can help me? Oh, you know what? That happened to me once. You should call Bob. Yeah, he can get you in. He also has access in there. Okay, cool. Thanks so much, guys. Done.
That's it.
Right? Got your problem solved. Maybe it's something else. I have this client and they called me and they asked me for all these things and I have no idea what this even means. And I don't want to look stupid. I told them, oh, cool. We can help you with that. Here's this resource. Here's this document. Read about this. I'd be happy to be on the call with you if you reschedule it. Great. Problem solved. Done. Right?
Yes.
And we can get so much done that way, again, in a group, lots of information flowing, lots of people to give you ideas and to help you. So you don't have to call one person, hang up, call another person, hang up, call another person, hang up, talk to your boss. They hang up, they call somebody up. I mean, how much time we've just lost?
Yeah.
Right? We're totally unproductive. Instead, get everyone together real quick. Hey, it's like I hate to keep using sports analogies, but if anyone's ever watched American football, it's like the huddle.
Yeah.
They get together and what's the plan? Okay, let's go do it. They come back. Oh, that didn't work. What's the next plan? Okay, let's go do that. Oh, that worked. Great job, guys. Let's do the next thing. All right. It's this tiny little meetings in between each little action. And we do that all day long. In fact, since we started being remote in 2009, we've done over 100,000 of those. 100,000. Think about that.
That's
right?
a lot.
And if you ask my employees, they would say they're almost never on meetings. They don't have meeting fatigue, right? They don't feel like they're stuck on meetings all day because they just show up real quick little meeting and off. Done. Right?
Yeah.
It's just short and sweet.
Okay, but then a question about this. So how does this apply also for an international time zone? Because you do this, I mean, according to everyone's schedule, right? And I just want to say that during my research, I learned about this new word, which it was asynchronous, right? If I'm saying it correctly. So, I mean, I'm guessing companies need to adapt also to those time zones. Does it mean that they also need to change everyone's schedule? Do we all need to sync in, or how is this how asynchronous work?
Yeah. So asynchronous work typically means that we're going to work and hand off, work and hand off, work and hand off, right? And it also means that maybe we have to pinpoint times. So let's say you were working in London and I'm working in Southern California. We might say, well, from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. my time, those are good times for you, right? So anytime I'm going to need you, anytime you and I have to connect, I know I've got to get you in that smaller bubble, right? And you would obviously know the opposite for me, right? At 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock your time or whatever it is. So you have to be intentional about that. Sometimes you got to talk to somebody you don't normally talk to, and they're in a really weird time zone and it's really hard. And in those instances, I would say someone might have to sacrifice and do a weird timed call. If it's a weird one-time kind of a thing, right? Not a regular thing. Or you might have to use another program like Marco Polo. You might have to or maybe just even in Slack, you could just record a video thing. I could, if you and I couldn't sync up, I could send you a video and say, hey, Carly, here's what I'm doing. Here's my screen. Let me show you this. I could tape something even in Zoom, right? Here's what I'm doing and here's my problem, and send it to you. And you could send me back a video. Oh, I see what you're doing. Here's the problem. I know how to fix that. And maybe we're not talking directly, but almost like an old two-way radio, right? I'm talking, then you're talking, then and that's another way to have to do it. Every company is going to have to figure that out based on the complexity of their time zones, how many people, and how often that needs to happen. Again, if you worked in a weird time zone and you're like, Chris, the only time we can talk, you're going to have to talk to me at 10 p.m. your time, right? But this is like a weird once a year occurrence. I would say, sure, I'll do that, right? I would make that happen if it was important. But if you said I need to talk to you every Tuesday at 10 p.m., I would laugh and say, no.
Not gonna happen.
Way. No.
Yeah. Okay. No, but definitely. So yeah, this is also like a personal company not problem, but a whole thing to kind of analyze and see how everybody can adapt, right? So I think also there's another misperception, or we can say mistrust, assuming that employees won't work if nobody's keeping an eye on them, which I think is a bit of a, so although new remote work report, as you also mentioned, just indicates that people are actually more productive. In your book, you talk about the benefits of remote work in allowing faster expansion and execution. Can you tell us a bit more about this whole thing?
Yeah. So remember that what you focus on grows, right? The behaviors, the activity, the things that you focus on, they will grow. So if you focus on, geez, I don't know if they're working. Can you send me a log of everything you're doing? Can you send me proof that you were in the office today, that you actually were? If you focus on that, your problem's going to get bigger. People are going to get passive aggressive and you're going to see a big issue, right? If what you focus on is the activity, you focus on the outcomes, you focus on, hey team, this is the goal. How quickly can we get from here to here? And everyone goes and puts in the work, right? And then you come back and you do a retrospective. How did that go? How did everyone do? Does everyone feel like everyone contributed equally? Was everyone, right? And that's when it's pretty easy to spot an employee that is not keeping up, that is not doing their fair share. It's really easy to find them if you have transparency, if the group is working together, if you come back and you talk about what went well or what didn't go well afterwards. There's a lot of sharing, right? There's clear goals and of what we expect from people.
Yeah.
I think one of the problems we have in a traditional organization is we don't set clear goals, KPIs, and outcomes. And yet we think we're going to manage people because we can see them.
Yeah.
Because we hear the papers rustling, because we hear a stapler clicking. That must mean they're productive.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't, right? But if we say, hey, Carla, you're our new head of sales. I need you to go get a quota of $400,000 this year. And you're like, cool, I got it. And then 3 months in, we check in and you're like, I'm already halfway there, right?
Mhm.
Oh, clearly you're doing a great job. Keep going. I don't care if you're in your office. I don't care if you're on the golf course every day. I don't care if you are playing Fortnite or, some stupid, Bejeweled game on your phone all day. If you're hitting the quota, if you're somehow making it work, I don't care what you're doing. I only care that the outcome that you and I have agreed to, that we think is reasonable and fair, is being met, right? And so I'm focused on what you're doing as it results to the end game and the result. Now, if we check in 3 months in or a month in and you're like, I'm struggling, this isn't working, I'm not, my goal is 400,000, I've only gotten 4,000, then I might say, well, geez, Carla, tell me about your day.
Yeah.
Well, how are you approaching this? How are you making your calls? What are you doing to find new products? And then you might say, well, I don't know, I've been playing Fortnite all the time, so well, then clearly we have a problem, right? Then it's easier. That's when you put your magnifying glass in on someone, is if they're failing, and they're saying they're having a hard time, then you can constructively say, well, let me help you. Let's figure this out. Let's talk about this. And you'll know when it's the right time to get rid of something. You'll know when somebody's a bad egg, right?
Yeah.
You're never going to stop hiring bad eggs. It's been happening since jobs were invented. We hire a bad employee or someone who doesn't work out, and we have to get rid of them. So remote's no different, but what you're going to get instead is your middle of the road employees and your great employees are going to get more done and be happier with their lives and be more productive, and your company's going to do better when you have more remote and flexible work.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I'm also really enjoying this whole remote hybrid setup. So I think I'm fully there with you. So another thing is that it's left to us. There's one thing that is left to assure those companies who are still in doubt of remote work benefits, and it's how to measure remote employees' performance. Again, it's correlated to our last question. So it's been already mentioned, but you talk also about this extensively in your book. So can you tell us a bit more about this?
Yeah, you have to just be super clear about what you expect from people, both from a larger cultural standpoint, a macro standpoint. Like, we expect you to be at meetings, and we expect you to share, we expect you to be transparent, we expect you to, what are these things our company does, right? Maybe your company culture is about having really strong candor, right? Really speaking up and saying what you believe and why you think this is a good idea or a bad idea, right? That whatever's happening, that you're very, very clear about that. But if that's not defined, if you haven't defined what makes a good employee and then what makes that particular employee good, if you haven't defined what all those things out, hybrid, remote, or traditional, it's a problem, right? So I often think that this is just a bad culture. This is a bad employer going, well, how am I supposed to measure them?
Yeah.
Because they were never measuring them to begin with, right?
That's true.
I remember I used to work at, one of my very first jobs was making pizzas, okay? And I had the worst boss ever. He was not a nice person. He was, difficult to deal with, but he wasn't always there. Usually it was somebody else there, and didn't mind. It was 16. So you don't get your favorite job on the first one out, right? And one day he came to me and he was upset that he couldn't read my handwriting on the to-go order or something. I could read it. I could tell him exactly what it said, but he was mad at me. And he told me I was a bad employee. He yelled at me and screamed at me, and he said he was going to fire me. And I said, okay, great. I said, do you know how many pizzas I've made today? He had no idea.
Yeah.
Do you know how many pizzas everyone else has made here today? He had no idea. And so he said, okay, smart Alec, how many pizzas have you made? I said, I've made 45 pizzas in X amount of hours. And he said, well, how many has he made? I said, 10. He had no idea. He had no way to measure productivity. Who was doing the work, who wasn't doing the work, right? And so because he got stuck on one little thing, he wanted to fire me, right? He never talked to me again. He left me alone after that. You know what I mean? But like he never even bothered to think about who was doing the best job for him and who wasn't.
Yeah.
Right? Should he have told me to write a little nicer on the order? Sure. Could I have done that better? Absolutely. Right? Right.
Yeah.
But you know, if we don't think about how to actually measure what's good, if we don't focus on what is good, then we don't know. And I think it's just a cop out to say, well, I don't know what a remote employee is doing. Yeah, because you've never thought about it to begin with. So just be intentional with people, right?
Definitely.
Be intentional. How do they succeed? How do they get a raise? How do they get ahead? How do they be looked at in a positive way in the organization? If you're not having that conversation from day one, you're a terrible leader. You're a terrible manager. You're a terrible boss. That's not normal. You should be talking about this stuff all the time.
Wow. Well, Chris, first let me say that, I mean, from making pizzas to where you are right now, it's a big look at you now. So that's a really huge improvement. But then I think in the end, and you tell me if this is something that, I mean, all these leaders, managers, HR, sometimes they are brought to where they are through the old school kind of traditional way of leading with people. So this is a good time to change the mindset. And it's also like, would you recommend also this is like to take like courses to maybe get your book, wink, so it's all about doing a whole new training starting from the top.
Yeah, anyone who needs help, good news, I have resources for you. So you can go to chrisdyer.com/remote work promo. You can get advanced copies of the book in bulk. So if you buy 10 or more copies, you get incredible giveaways from amazing companies like With Locals. You get and 49 other companies are going to give you all their best free stuff to help you be successful just by getting 10 bucks. If you got 25 bucks or 50 bucks, you're going to get even more stuff. So that will help. Number two, if you go to my website, chrisdyer.com, I also have a remote leadership course. So if you need to know, you need to have a course. I've got 78 videos, I think it is, that teach you how to do all this stuff. And we'll teach your leaders how to do this stuff in very simple, easy to understand. This is not a college course. This is me talking normal, like a normal person, and really delivering people things that they can use in little tiny tidbits. It's not one course you take in one big. This is like little tidbits that you can go back and rewatch and have access to. We've had over 300 people go through it this year. It's got a 5-star rating. People have been loving it. So definitely check it out. If you need the help, there's lots of help out there. And if I'm not the right person to help you, I got a list of 50 other people for sure that can help you. I can send you off with.
So there you have it, people. The resources out there. Chris is telling you where to find it. So it's only a matter of you wanting to make the change, and also you wanted to take care of your employees and of your company. So before I say goodbye to you, Chris, I just want to hear your opinion of someone that started with remote working like 10 years ago to where we're now. What do you think is the next step for this new way of working? What is your your pro kind of like, I forgot the word, like prognosis about this?
I think that it's gonna be a bumpy road for a little bit. COVID is still, having spikes around the world. I think we're going to continue to be affected. We're not going to be able to go back to quote unquote normal anytime soon. And so we're going to continue to have more remote and hybrid and flexible work, which means we're going to have more companies who are out there innovating and coming up with these amazing new technologies and processes. And it's just going to make remote work easier and better, right? There's already so many great tools out there that people don't even know about that they're going to start learning about and doing. And so it's just going to become easier and easier. That last little hard thing is going to be those old school leaders saying, no, we got to have everybody here so they can sit in a room and listen to me talk all day and laugh at my jokes, and these terrible organizations are going to try to bring people back, and you're going to see a mass amount of employees leaving their jobs, getting new jobs. All of this turmoil is going to happen, and I think everyone's going to go, okay, we give in. We're going to do remote. We'll let you have flexible work. We'll do it, for those jobs where they can, and then it's gonna become the new norm, right? Just like, the Industrial Revolution made working in a factory a norm at that time, right? Just like when email became a thing, right? When airplanes became a thing and you could fly to go see a client, right? Or fly to go see your family. There are marketable changes in what we do that are going to change how we work or change how we live. And COVID, the pandemic, has given remote work that glimpse into the future. So I think it's here to stay. It's going to be a little struggle for a little bit, but I think in the end we'll have it and we'll all be happy for it.
Well, that's a very interesting road that we're going to go. And I think I just want to thank you again for joining us. I want to say, like Priscilla saying, mic drop. This was a really mic drop. This is how it is. This is how it's going to go. So let's adapt. And Chanel also said change management is key. So that's completely right. I just want to mention again that we and other 49 companies are supporting remote work, the book launch, and we're giving away our services to anyone buying 10 or more books. We have dropped a link in the chat. So if you're interested, and also as Chris mentioned, everywhere you can find them, there you have it. So thank you, Chris, for joining us today and for your valuable insights. If you're planning to go hybrid or fully remote, you know where to find the best guideline. So Chris, can you please tell us just a few words before you say goodbye?
My last few words are, thank God it's Friday, and thank God there's somebody here to teach us how to make a proper drink. So I'm excited to watch this, the proper spritz being made. I think I've been doing it wrong all these years, so I'm ready to be taught by the master.
Definitely. So now stay around, everybody in the audience as well, for an original spritz workshop. So thank you again, Chris. And now, thank God it's Friday, so it's time to get the party started. So get your glasses ready and let's kick off the weekend with a Venetian spritz prepared by our host, Valerio, who is joining us live from Venice. So I think we have Valerio here. Hi, Valerio. How are you?
Hi, Carla. Hi, Chris. Welcome to Venice. I'm very excited to introduce you a little bit about Venice, thanks to the most iconic drink we have here in Venice, which is the spritz. I understood Chris already drank some of them, so now we will see if how to do it Venetian way. I will show you how I do it as a Venetian here at home with my friends, with my family members. I must say, Chris, it was very interesting, your talk. I mean, I'm working now with Local since a couple of years, I think 3 years. But up to 5 years ago, I used to work for 20 years in a corporation. I don't name it, but I mean, it was a good time, 20 years. It was a great experience. I've been to Dubai, Berlin, Moscow, and in the headquarters in Turin. It was in the automotive sector. And your talks remember me a lot of things about the relationship with my bosses and the time I spent there. Well, I think I'm quite happy. Despite the pandemics, I took the right decision. I decided to be the boss of myself. So I'm a freelance now, and I'm very happy to work with Local too. Okay.
Exactly. So there you have it, Valerio. See, like your life also changed completely. And now here we are, you're fully in control of your own time schedule, everything. You're your own boss, and you're going to make spritz for us. So can you tell us a little bit about the origin of spritz?
Yeah, sure. I'm talking about the spritz as an excuse to talk about Venice because I don't know, Carla or Chris, if you've been to Venice, but if you did, I'm pretty sure you noticed a lot of people drinking this special cocktail. Well, the word spritz, Carla, doesn't sound very Italian, isn't it? Spritz. I mean, it has only one vowel, so it cannot be Italian. For sure. And it's a German word because, as you probably know, Venice in the 19th century used to be under German domination, under Austria. And you should imagine these German, Austrian soldiers hanging around in Venice, enjoying a lot the Italian wine. But the Italian wine was probably too strong for them. So they asked to water, actually, the wine, the Italian wine, with some water, to dilute that with some water. And the German word for that, it's spritzen. So that's why the name spritz. If you go to Austria nowadays, and if you ask for a spritz, you will get actually white wine and water only. But when in 1866 the Austrian left and Venice joined the Italian monarchy at that time, Venetian people found this white wine and water very boring, so they start to add Aperol and other liquors to make the drink more interesting. So that's in brief the history of the spritz. But I talk too much as always. I'm Italian, so Carla, let's do a spritz all together. I don't know if you have also a glass of wine. So the spritz, Chris, I suppose you know it. It's a wine-based cocktail, so you definitely need a bottle of wine. Ideally, it should be Prosecco wine, which is a sparkling, dry white wine from Prosecco Hills, so not far away from Venice. It's around 40 kilometers, more or less. And the most important thing, well, first of all, you need a glass, any kind of glass. You don't have a specific spritz glass. You can use a red wine glass, or normally in the bars here in Venice, you get a water glass large enough to contain the spritz. But even in winter, in the cold winter, you need to drink it with a lot of ice cubes. So the first thing you have to do is to put some ice, even if it's cold outside. And the official recipe is talking about 3 parts of wine and 2 parts of another liquor like Aperol. But my suggestion also for you, Chris, is forget about the proportion. You should more concentrate yourself on the color. So my suggestion is to put half of a glass in the glass. So more or less like this. And this is like our 3 parts. And then you should choose one liquor. So let's start with the Aperol, the most famous one. And then you should put more or less 2 parts of Aperol. But my suggestion is to look at the color, because by practicing that, you will understand then by the color when to stop. So you should reach like a bright orange color like this one. And then we are not done, because in Venice, you need some decoration for this drink. So you normally find a slice of fresh orange, so like this one. And you can put it as a decoration or right inside the cocktail, like I'm doing now. And what you find always in Venice is an olive with stone. So a green olive with stone, which is actually, it has nothing to do with the taste, but it's more like a tradition. Because Carla, this drink is actually aperitivo drink, so before a meal. So you should also eat something to get more hungry and then enjoy your meal afterwards. So again, you can have it as a decoration, or you put it inside, and you can also stir it. So Chris, no special secrets. It's a very simple cocktail to do. The official recipe is talking about adding some water, and in most of the bars, you will see the barman adding some splash of water. I decided to skip the water, Carla. So my spritz are definitely stronger, but I put anyway the ice cubes, so you do have
That's
water
already
inside.
water.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my suggestion, Carla, drink a lot of water, 1.5 liters every day. It's very good for your health, but don't do it with the spritz, please. Yeah. So for you and all the people connecting, so let's have a toast all together. Thanks again,
Cheers.
Carla and Chris, for your talk. And here we are.
Well, how do you say cheers in Italian?
It's a salute, so health, a word that actually we need right now, especially in this moment. Yeah. And well, the spritz, you will see this color actually all over Venice. Around 6 o'clock in the afternoon, from last Monday, actually now the situation has improved. So there is still the curfew at 10 o'clock in the evening, but now bars are open also at night, I mean, in the evening, in the late evening, up to 10 o'clock. So now you start seeing this color everywhere, especially now, after the lockdown, everybody's getting drunk, honestly. follow with the rules, of course. But it's very popular also in the sense that it's a cross-generational drink, and this is something that I didn't find in other cities I lived in. I mean, you can go to a bar, and it's very likely you see like a group of teenagers, like 17, 20s, and drinking the spritz in a bar. And then at the next table, you will find maybe another table with a couple of grandpas playing cards, and drinking the same drink in the same bar in the same glasses. And then maybe some other tourists, they got curious and said, well, I want to try this one because it must be good. So normally, some bars are just for elderly people and the other bars are only for young people. And in Venice, it's a bit mixed. And I like that. I think it's amazing.
It is, and I just think, there's also you and I have had other experiences, right? And I think you mentioned that you can also replace Aperol, right? And then it's another type of drink.
Aperol is now famous all over the world, Carla, because up to 20 years ago, it was just drunk here in Venice. My grandpa was drinking Aperol spritz, I remember as I was a child, and I was, hypnotized by this color, by this orange color. But 10 years ago, another company, Italian company, Campari, that I suppose you know, Campari bought Aperol, and thanks to a massive marketing campaign, made the Aperol brand popular all over the world. So now you can have Aperol spritz in New York, in New Delhi, in Berlin, in San Francisco, and so on. And that was like, so it became like a global trend nowadays. But in Venice, you can still drink it with Campari, which is definitely stronger because Campari has 25% alcoholic degree. So it's actually a spritz to get wasted, honestly, Carla. So it's actually very, very tough. And something I do suggest you, I suppose Chris doesn't know them, but if you come to Venice, you should try it. This is my favorite. As you can see, the bottle is almost empty already. And this is an Italian drink called Cynar. Cynar is the botanical name of the artichoke that you see on the label. And differently from the spritz, which is strongly orange flavored, this is more herbal, definitely bitter, but I would say also more natural. And I definitely love it. And my suggestion, if you find it in some shops, buy that and do a spritz with Cynar because it's amazing. At first, you feel all the herbal notes, so you don't have the fruity notes of the Aperol, but then the back taste is rather sweet, like caramel. So it's definitely an interesting, intriguing drink. And another one that it's very hard to find outside of Venice, it's Select, which is, I would say, the most authentic Venetian drink. It's proudly Venetian since 1920. And, it's particular because the two main ingredients is rhubarb, which is very bitter, and juniper berries. So it's a very strange, new, I would say, taste, something that probably you never experienced. And if you come to Venice, as for that, I suppose, Carla, the barman will look at you.
Yeah.
And,
how do you know this?
Who told you? I mean, why do you ask for salad? But this is definitely something really Venetian. So the old generation is still drinking that. And also in this case, they're doing some marketing campaign. Some German customers, some German friends of mine, they send me some pictures. Now it is also sold in Germany in some supermarkets. So I suppose it will come also abroad because they're promoting it as the real Venetian spritz.
Yeah.
So you will probably find it in some local stores.
Well, thank you so much, Valerio. So now also, there you have it, people. If you ever go to Venice and you want to look very knowledgeable and very local, ask for Select instead of your Aperol. And then you're going to be like a local. That's what we want to achieve. So thank you again, Valerio. Thank you again, Chris. It was a really nice talk. It was a really nice happy hour. So let's get the weekend started.
Sure.
Well, thank you guys so much. And yeah, we wish you and the audience a lovely weekend. And remember, one way to maintain your company's culture while working remotely is interactive cultural activities. So please visit teams.withlocals.com to learn more about our experiences that are tailored to keep employees connected and engaged. I know we had a question about where to watch this again from Miles. So Miles, you can always rewind the video and then you can also find it on LinkedIn. So for now, have a nice weekend and see you in another LinkedIn Happy Hour in May. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ciao a tutti. Hi, everyone.
This is Shruti from Dubai.
I'm Bibiana. I'm from Paris.
This is Valerio and welcome to Venice.
Sebastian Beringer from Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
That was a very warm welcome and a bit unexpected.
Are you ready for some more awards?
Well, I was going to say I'm not a morning person, but 9 a.m. sounds reasonable, I guess.
Our menu includes very rich in-flight entertainment, so buckle up, get your happy face on, and enjoy your trip.
Maybe before we start, what did you think of today's events?
Let's hand it over to the first host, who's living in Colombia. So let's hand it over to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, can you introduce yourself a bit? And yeah, tell us what we're going to be doing today.
My name is Elizabeth. I'm going to be your host today. And this is my co-host, Lupita. We are in the mountains, and this is the perfect altitude and the perfect weather for us to grow coffee.
And we're lucky right now to see the donkey again passing by.
The temperature is about 80 degrees Celsius. Matcha must be strong.
They just reopened the fountain so we can go down. We can throw virtually a coin inside the fountain.
Right now, I have to show you my favorite mural in the city, which is actually this one right here behind me.
And my favorite stand here on the Albert Market, also because it is so super nice with coffee, which I'm pretty addicted to as a Dutch guy, is the stroopwafels.
It's more beautiful in real life than it is on my background, I would say.
Okay, so now is the moment of the truth. The black is gonna make this looks like if you all doing the things good and right.
Do you know actually why Athens? It's called Athens from where it takes its name from.
I think I also want to take this time to invite our last guest that wants to join to maybe show us how their painting is going. Well, I think we have someone here right now, and I see that she has a glassware ready. Hi, Hoda.
Hi.
In a very few minutes, I would say 30 seconds, we will enter some masks. Let's wait for the poll, the results, and I will tell about...
For now, the one that is getting more answers is because Saint Mark was born in Venice. So let me just review the answers because I think they're very interesting.
Cream caramel, mint and chocolate, cream, mandorla, almonds. So all the class pistachio, obviously. Which one do you will like to taste with me?
I wait for you. Ciao, belli.
Hope to see you soon, my friends. Goodbye.